Cup of Joe with Grandpa Dez. Hey, Chris, how you doing,
Hold
buddy?
on. That's my new favorite ditty. It's going to go down in history with the great sitcom themes of all time.
Awesome. Hey, that's oh yeah, we've already done that on the Mount Rushmore, haven't we?
Yep.
Yeah, and yeah, don't set me off.
And I have my
So
cup of tea.
I
My
got
New York Rangers cup tonight.
Tim Hortons. Look at that.
Nice.
Mm. So this was, well, I think somebody might have suggested this one, but you picked it. And I've been really looking forward to this since we decided on it, and really since I watched it again. So, of course, if you don't know, we're going to be talking about Just One of the Guys, and that is a classic '80s, teen
One of
comedy.
my all-time favorite movies.
Really? Eh? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. The funny thing is, and like I told you this on DM, I would have watched this when it first came out. Probably not in the theaters. I was 14, so I would have probably watched it on video, and I would have been like, this would have been one of those movies that, you go to the store and you rent two wrestling cassette VHSs and Just One of the Guys. You hope that they don't ID you, and you hide it in between the two wrestling tapes when you go in home, so your parents don't see it, because the cover gives away what you're getting it for. And so I would have watched it the first time. And then this movie played like all the time on, we
HBO.
We had Super Channel up here. So, so when I'm flicking through the channels and I see Just One of the Guys is on, it's like, okay, I check and see when it started. And then I would always go back, when there's about 15 minutes left in the movie, because I want to see the scene, right?
The end. The reveal. The literal reveal.
The literal reveal. But the funny thing is like, so there's so many of these movies that are kind of all bungled together in my mind. Mm-hmm. And so I can't, like, if you'd have asked me before I watched it, I would have thought that there was a scene where Buddy hides in the back of a car where they go somewhere and then comes out of the car and nobody knows he's actually there. Because I think that happened in another movie. I don't know which one. Maybe Secret Admirer.
I think you might be right. I think you might be right.
Yeah. So, there's stuff like that. So, there's certain things that I didn't recognize. And the first thing that hit me when this movie starts, so it starts, and the very first thing you see is a beautiful woman on a bed, and she's in her panties. And then you see her, and I was jarred. And I'll tell you, I was jarred the way that Rick was jarred in the scene with the big reveal,
the climax,
because so no, because in my mind, like I see that face, and I picture Terry, Rick's buddy, because that's like, I've seen the dance scene 100 times. Yep. I've probably seen the movie once. So the actual Terry that I know is a guy.
Yep.
So I'm seeing this guy's face on this beautiful body, and I'm like, I'm thrown. And then the voice is, she's got a little bit of a deeper voice, probably, and that's probably one of the reasons why she was cast. But, she doesn't sound like a guy. She sounds like a girl. Yep. But so I was like, right away, just, oh my God, like I forgot like how drop dead gorgeous she was, and so right away I'm like, okay, I got to sit down and watch this movie now, because like I'm clearly, and as I'm watching, I'm remembering some things, I'm not remembering other things. If you guys haven't watched this, go out and watch the movie. It's great. If you're in Canada, it's on Netflix till the end of February. How would you get it in the States? I know you watched the DVD, right, Chris?
Yeah, I actually still have my VHS copy that I recorded off of HBO. So I've got the VHS, I've got the standard edition DVD from like 20 years ago, and I've got the Blu-ray that came out a couple of years ago. That's how essential this movie is to me. So yeah, I popped in the Blu-ray just to rewatch it. I could go completely off memory with this one, but any excuse to watch it again is fine by me. But right now, I think the only way you can get it in the States is by renting it or buying it on Amazon, or, going out and getting the physical media. I don't think it's on any type of streaming channel.
I think you can buy it on YouTube or rent it. because that was an option for me. I almost did it because so what happened was I searched on my Apple TV and it gave me the CTV app. Now CTV is like one of our major networks, like ABC, CBS, NBC, but they actually air movies with nudity and swearing and stuff. Like our morals are a little looser up here in Canada. So, just one of the guys should have been available, but I clicked on it and then I got an error message. So I guess maybe it was at one point and it's not anymore. So then I checked Tubi. I thought, well, maybe they've got it. Nope. Yep. Nope, not on Tubi. So then, and then I checked YouTube and then it was for purchase. One more try. I'll try Netflix. And then sure enough, watch until February 28th. Yeah. So I watched it last night. And yeah, so one thing, okay, so the last movie that we saw was Last American Virgin. And the key in that movie, I thought, was the soundtrack. Like the soundtrack was just killer. This soundtrack was nothing. Like there was no hits, I don't think.
There's some catchy stuff. Like there's a couple of earworms in there, but yeah, there was nothing blow away.
Well, the opening song was, I think the key lyric in it was, "Girls have something that guys
girls got something boys ain't got."
Yeah, yep. Yeah. It's like, okay, they're setting you up for the climax, the whole movie, right? So the one thing too, like, so they this movie starts and Terry, our heroine, is she's a reporter, wannabe reporter, and she submits an article and she doesn't get picked for this contest, and her teacher tells her that it's too boring and she thinks that he's just being sexist. And of course she overheard these two teachers talking and they're like, oh, I think I want to keep her back because she's hot and stuff. I don't know if she actually heard them, but
no, yeah, she overhears them. And then when she kind of confronts the teacher about why she wasn't picked, he's like, well, you're a pretty girl, you should be a model.
Yeah,
just like stuff that if you made this if you made this movie today, none of this would fly at all. This whole plot would be shot to dust.
Well, I mean, okay, so let's get that stuff out of the way. I mean, so she decides that she's going to become a guy and go to a different school, and like just she just shows up at this other school and they're okay with it, and like she doesn't have to like show a transcript or anything, I assume, and I guess she's only there for like a week and a half.
Yeah, that was the plan, to go for like a week or two.
Yeah, this whole movie takes place over a week and a half. So I mean, there's some plot holes. Parents are conveniently out of town.
Which leads to one of the greatest lines in the movie too.
Which one? Because I had three, and I don't think this one is one of them.
So it's when Buddy and Terry, so the brother and sister,
all the key lines are Buddy, except for the one.
The phone rings and he picks up. He's like, "Hello, hey scumbag, yeah, suck your own, eat me. Same to you, butt face." And she's looking at him and he goes, "Mom says hi."
Yeah. Yeah. And then later on, like he's basically telling her, oh yeah, Terry's a transvestite now and all this stuff. And she's like,
show me a hairy test.
Yeah, show me. And then he's like, oh, she thinks I'm kidding, and then hangs up or whatever. Like he's just, like any parent would be like on the next flight home,
yep.
And they're just like, no,
he was out drinking with the guys last night.
Yeah, which is all true. Yeah, because even Terry's only 17, I think.
Yeah, like 17 or 18. Yep.
I guess she'd probably have to be 18, given what we saw. But the actual actors are a lot older. I guess
she
Buddy
was like 10 years older because there's a story about how she got like a youth in film award for the movie. And she's like, I can't accept this because I'm 28 years old. She was dating Bruce Springsteen when she made that movie. She dated Bruce Springsteen for I want to say 5 or 6 years.
Wow. And
that's why she had the Springsteen poster on her wall.
Okay.
And when she's talking to Rick in the cafeteria about the music that she likes, she name drops Springsteen. So they worked in a couple of inside references there. But yeah, she was dating him because she was in one of his videos too. I can't remember which one.
There was a few inside reference kind of things in this movie, and we'll get to some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe he's got a type then, because Courtney Cox kind of had a similar look in the Dancing in the Dark video. Yep. Yeah. And that's kind of, you see that, and that was 84, and this movie was 85. So yeah, maybe he had kind of a type. Yeah. Although, I mean, like I said, when she was a girl, she looked very feminine, and it wasn't just the boobs. I mean, it was, the whole look.
Well, she was actually in that part too. Like in the beginning, she was wearing a wig that wasn't her natural hair because she had already had her hair cut short for the film.
So one of the I'll show this. This is one of the early parts of the movie. See, this is our heroine, and magically she becomes a guy not too long after this. That's her boyfriend Kevin. You talk about the ages of the actors. So I looked all this up. He was like 30, and he's playing a guy that's, I don't know, 21, 22. The guy that played Rick. Now that guy, I mean, as soon as he comes on the screen, I'm looking at this guy and I'm like, okay, what's this like middle-aged guy doing, like hanging out in a high school? That's like the worst casting. Like this guy, I mean, he was 28. He looked like he was 40. And I mean, and he's like, I don't know, and then there's like the one scene where he's set up with a girl that's in like grade 6.
Yes. Which is another thing, like just the implication of that these days.
Yeah.
Because what's her name? Sherilyn Fenn. So Sherilyn Fenn.
That was get to that.
She's like the sex pot of the school, and she sees Terry as a guy at the new school, and she has like, she desires him now. Like she's got her eyes on him. So she kind of works at like, oh, we can go on a double date. Like, I'll help you get Rick a date for the prom. And she brings along her 12-year-old cousin, and they're drinking beer in a cave, no supervision. I'm like,
well, I don't think the 12-year-old was drinking. I could be wrong about that.
I think she had a can of Coke. I think she had the can of Coke, and they had like the generic beer cans.
Now, a story like this, I've never told this to too many people, but something like this happened to me. We had me and my buddy Chris, not you, but a different Chris. We met these girls. I don't know exactly how we met them. So I think I was working as a telemarketer, and this girl answered the phone, and I just, I would do this all the time. I just started chatting because I could tell she was younger, and so I kind of started flirting with her. I'm like 18, 17 maybe. And then so we ended up, I go, can I call you later? And I wrote down her number and I gave her a call. And long story short, we set up a double date. And then we were going to go, I think it was roller skating. And so we show up at this roller skating. I've never seen her. So can I bring my friend? And then, you have a friend, and I'll bring my friend. So I bring my friend, Chris. He's a couple years younger than me. So I think actually I'm 18. Chris is 16. We get to this thing. This girl had told me she was 15. There's no way she's older than 13. And her friend is younger than her. So, yeah. And so, like we're trying to be nice, and, we didn't do anything or whatever. And then they're like, oh, you come to our school or whatever. So then we're like, so we go to the school, and there's like, cause Chris, I guess just whatever. Chris is like, he's hard up, and he's passed away now. It's, I shouldn't speak ill of the dead. He died young. But we go to the school, and it's a combined elementary and junior high, and we're like, oh God, she's in junior high. I'm in grade 12. Chris is in grade 10, and these girls are at the very least in grade 8. Well, no, they're in grade 6. And oh my God, and that's it. Like we just like when we said, oh, where is so and so, and then they're like, oh, they're in that part, and then like the elementary school, okay, we're out of here. And that's it. Like we never called them again. Nothing. It was bad news.
Obviously different circumstances, different time period, and you get out of there. But that's like a Chris Hansen story. That's like a Dateline NBC expose right there.
Well, I mean, we didn't do anything.
No, I know. I obviously,
But I mean, even showing up at the school, would probably get you in trouble now.
Yep.
So Terry is, he's got some game, and there was the one line in there, and so Sherilyn Fenn, when I was looking up the cast, like I didn't even recognize her, and I've seen her in so many things, like Boardwalk Empire and Two Moon Junction and
The Wraith. Do you remember The Wraith with Charlie Sheen?
I don't think I saw that.
Oh, that's an essential 80s movie. That's probably on Tubi right now.
Okay, so we might have to add it to the list.
And so that one is, I don't want to spoil too much, especially if you haven't seen it, but basically her boyfriend is murdered by a gang of, they're basically called road pirates. So like
this doesn't sound funny.
No, it's not a comedy. It's an action movie.
Okay. So I might watch it, but we won't cover it for the show.
But it's a rare action / dramatic turn for Charlie Sheen. Okay. So her boyfriend is murdered, and then Charlie Sheen winds up coming to town right at the same time that this mysterious black car shows up and starts running all of the gang members off the road. And they're trying to figure out how everyone's tied together because someone is very clearly seeking vengeance for the murder that happened. And she's the girlfriend, and she actually has a scene with Charlie Sheen. All the kids kind of hang out at like this like ravine type thing, and they sneak off to the back of the ravine, and things happen. And that was, she had a big reveal in that one.
Oh, okay.
And that was kind of, but this movie and that movie, because they were PG-13 and they were on TV more often than, I could watch R-rated stuff when I was younger, but those two movies were kind of like the first real exposure to any form of like, exactly.
Yeah.
We're just making puns left and right tonight.
Yeah.
So, and actually, they might actually even be on the same VHS tape.
Oh, really?
From back in the day, yeah. Because I would always keep like 2 or 3 movies on the same tape.
You'll have to let me know about that one. Though I think the first time I saw Sherilyn Fenn was Boxing Helena. Yeah, which and then I've seen her a bunch of times since then, and she's cute. Didn't she play Betty Page too? Notorious Betty Page, wasn't that her?
I'm not sure if that was her. I know she was on an episode of Friends.
Okay.
Friends. She did like a lot of like character work and co-starring. She was actually on Shameless.
You know what? Believe it or not, I haven't seen Shameless.
She actually did that. So she's obviously looking older now and everything.
Recurring character on SWAT. I would say currently, except she her character died in I think this season or in the last season.
I haven't watched SWAT yet.
Oh, that's a good show. So she's this sex pot. Looks very different. Like I barely recognized her. You can kind of hear the voice and you see a little bit of her, but she was very young, like here maybe 19 or 20 when this movie was made. Now the one that got me, and again because I've got so many of these movies mishmashed in my head, and I haven't watched a lot of them since the 80s, was Billy Zabka. Like I just had no idea he was in this movie. Rather, I would say I didn't know what his name was because somebody, when we posted that we were going to be doing this show, somebody made a comment that, it's like the trilogy of Billy Zabka movies. And he mentioned Karate Kid. He mentioned Just One of the Guys and then something else. I can't remember.
Back to School with Rodney.
Oh, he was in that too?
He was the kid that was on the diving team with Rodney's son.
Oh, okay.
They were the rivals. When he tried to throw the dive meet, and he's like, I've got a really bad cramp. And Rodney's son goes, it's probably menstrual.
I haven't seen that movie, probably since it came out either. And that's not one that I would go back and watch, even certain scenes over again. Yeah, no, I loved it. It's just, I watch a lot of other stuff. So, so when I saw him, it was like, wow. So, I mean, all these other people we talked about, and if you look at their pictures now, like none of them are even close to recognizable. This is the same guy you see in Karate Kid with a few wrinkles. Like he looks.
Garrett and I are very familiar with him over the last couple of
years. Of course. And so the funny thing is the Cobra Kai character. Like I don't know if, like again, and I haven't watched the original Karate Kid in a long time, either. But I mean, the character that he's playing, Johnny Lawrence. I mean, it's the same character. Like this. What's his name? Gary. It's not Gary. It's
Greg Tolan in the movie.
Greg Tolan, yeah.
He's like the high school alpha jock.
It's the exact same character, kind of. I mean, but and it's literally like the Johnny Lawrence in Cobra Kai is this guy grown up. He acts exactly the same. He does the exact same things. Like I'm sure that when William Zabka was researching for the role or going back and looking, like he probably just watched all these movies again and thought, okay, what did my character do back then? Okay, this is what I'm going to do now because it's the same guy. So that just kind of blew me away because it was like, okay, I'm watching Johnny Lawrence in this movie.
And they slip in that Karate Kid reference too, when Sherilyn Fenn is checking Terry out.
He looks like Elvis Costello, and he looks like the Karate
Kid. Yep.
Yeah, and then you've got Buddy doing karate moves later on.
Yep.
So and then like Johnny Lawrence, I'm just gonna call him Johnny Lawrence, says, where'd you guys learn to fight? Like, because they're
at the end at the fight in the prom. He's like, Jesus, where did you guys learn how to fight? Because they're just jumping on his back, trying to like scratch him and stuff.
I know the first time I watched that too, I'm like, okay, Terry is rolling around in a tuxedo with a white shirt and gets thrown into the water, and you think, okay, there's no way those things are like not poking through this.
You're waiting for the.
But they didn't. I mean,
well, so in reality, it wasn't what is it, a girdle? It wasn't anything like that. She used like gauze, like ace bandages to tape herself down, but they were filming in Arizona. So she said like the heat was just unbearable because she had like this extra layer underneath her male clothing to, to keep her, down, to flatten her out. And she said like it was just like unbearable to deal with anytime she had to wear the guy's clothes when she was doing the scenes like as Terry the boy, because she had to layer up. She had, however many layers wrapped up under her shirts.
Well, I mean, so you see this. I mean, she's like at least a C, if not a D. And then like here's the scene of her as a guy.
Yep.
And like, oh my God, like that, like how they had. And I mean, that looks like a dude. Like, I'm sorry. Looks kind of like the Rick in the last movie, in a little bit, with the, if his hair was blonde. Like the villain from the last movie, and then there's the guy that I said, Kevin. No, what's his name?
That's Rick in this movie.
That's Rick in this movie. He looks like he's 40, and he's playing like an 18-year-old, I guess. And I'm sorry, that's terrible casting. He was good. I mean, he's good in the movie, and
he's in a lot of movies I liked. He was in that horror movie April Fool's Day back in the 80s. That came out about a year after this one.
With was it Marky Post? No,
she wasn't in that one. It was actually the girl that was in Marcy. The blonde girl that was in this. Greg Coleman's girlfriend. She was in April Fool's Day as well. He did a movie. Remember Lyle Alzado, the football player that passed away?
Yeah.
He did it was like a horror movie called Destroyer, where they were filming in a prison and he was an inmate that was like hiding out in the depths of the prison. Okay. But the guy that played Rick, Clayton Roner, he was on the film crew. And then here's a throwback for you. If you remember this from like the late 90s, after Raw on USA, there used to be that show G versus E.
Yep.
He was one of the two agents in G versus E. He was one of the two main characters on that. So he stuck around for a while. He was in a lot of stuff.
He was in an episode of Ozark too. I saw on IMDb.
I actually haven't started that.
Oh, okay, that's good.
I know it's a really good show, but I haven't started it.
Might as well just wait till it's done at this point.
Because they're in the last season right now, right?
I think so. Yeah, they dropped half the season, and then they're going to do the next half. So I mentioned there was 3 classic lines. So of course we'll get to the main event. But the first one was when Buddy shows up at the school. No, it wasn't the school. It was like a restaurant. And he's just being an ass, right? And he's like hitting
the cafeteria.
No, I don't think it was the cafeteria. It might have been, but it was so.
They always have like that off-campus cafeteria.
Yeah, because Terry's sitting there with her friend. Was it Denise? No, Denise.
Oh okay. I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, so the blonde, like the friend who ends up hooking up with the guitar player.
Yep.
So they're sitting together in there, and then he just shows up and he's hitting on her. He hits on her through the whole movie. And I knew he ended up with somebody, and I thought it was her. I didn't realize it was Sandy he ends up with at the end. But so he's hitting on her the whole time, and he's just being a complete asshole. And then Terry says to him, "Don't you get embarrassed by the way you act?" And he says, "Horniness trumps embarrassment every time," or something like that.
He goes, "Nope, I'm horny. Horny kicks embarrassment's ass anytime."
Yeah.
Most of the best lines in this movie were uttered by Buddy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
If people aren't familiar with Buddy, Billy Jacoby. So Billy Jacoby, and then he changed his name to Billy Jane. There's some type of like family name or whatever. He altered it. But he was one of Ricky Schroeder's best friends on Silver Spoons.
Yes.
In the last couple of seasons. And then he went on
for Derek, right? Basically took that role.
Yeah, he was like the bad boy towards the end, kind of like the doof / bad boy. And then he went on to be on Fox. He was on Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
Right. Yeah.
And he was his best friend on there. So he was always like the hip teen bad boy kind of guy. In this one, he's kind of like not a nerd, but very clearly a misfit. Like his parents go out of town, so he covers his room in Playboy Centerfold and everything.
Funny.
But he had a lot of the best lines in the movie for sure.
The other one, God, I'm racking my brain. I should have wrote them down, but he had another great line later. I'm gonna blank on it. Unless you think of it.
Well, when Terry first shows up at the door dressed like a boy and she tricks him, he's like, "Is your sister home?" And he's like, Terry. And then she's like laughing. Like, she's like, I just fooled you. I just fooled my own brother. So then he starts showing her, here's how you have to act like a guy. You got to walk like this and talk like this. So he's like, all right, you got to do something that every guy does. Let me see you scratch your balls.
Right.
He's like, maybe my balls don't itch. He goes, all balls itch. It's a fact.
Yeah. That wasn't the line, but that was a good one. Oh man, I wish I could remember. I mean, the embarrassment, kicks horny kicks embarrassment's ass all the time. I will just go with that one. There was another great line, and like I said, I should have wrote it down. But the other one, of course, is when they have the big reveal. And so, in this movie, Terry becomes friends with Rick, and Rick is trying to, he's trying to find a date for the prom that was a subplot in the movie. Mm-hmm. And he ends up taking Johnny Lawrence's girlfriend because he's an asshole. And so he ends up taking his girlfriend to the prom, and then, Terry gets jealous, and then they have this big fight. And they, so then, at one point they end off because come over here or whatever. And then, because Kevin shows up, and Kevin is, like, it's all confusing.
He has no idea what's going on.
Terry's my boyfriend. And then Rick's like, oh, okay, I get it. And then they're like, no, come here, I got to tell you something. He goes, I get it, you're gay. He's like, no, I'm not gay. And then he's like, well, what is it then? I'm a girl. And he's like, yeah, right, you're a girl. And he's like, no, I'm a girl. And then we get this, and of course it's cut off. This is a PG version, but she shows him that very much she is a girl.
All the proof he needs.
Yeah. And she, Rick is shocked and just kind of walks away, and and then we don't know what's going to happen. And yeah, so, and then the line was, like, where do you get off having tits? Which is, the classic line from this movie. Uttered by, of course, Rick. And then, like, she covers back up and she goes back out, and everyone's kind of looking at her like, what's going on? Because they all saw her kiss Rick.
Yep.
And then,
but they all think that it's Terry. They don't.
Right. Well, it is Terry, but they think Terry's. There's one funny line after, like, so I guess she goes home. I guess she gets a cab or whatever, and she's still wearing the tuxedo. And the cabbie drops her off and says, "See you later, man." She walks out of this thing. Her tits are like, like right out at this point, almost like they're not like showing, but they're sticking out against the shirt. Yep. And there's no way anybody would think that was a dude. Like, I'm sorry.
One of the plot holes you talked about before.
Just a bit. I mean, it's no big deal. But, at the end of the movie, there's a nice little postscript. She ends up with Rick, probably a couple months later. She gets her job. The teacher says, she ends up writing a different article. Her article is about how, Terry Griffith, I was a boy, for, whatever. And yeah, the article is really good. And she gets picked and she becomes a reporter. She gets an internship at whatever the paper was. I don't know. Where did this take place? Do you remember? Did they
filmed it in Arizona, so I'm not sure if it was supposed to be like Arizona, California.
I kind of assumed California. There was something about Sturgis on that I saw on the wall in a couple different places.
Sturgis Wilder was the name of the
other school.
The school that she went to.
Yeah,
as Terry the boy.
The first one was Pearl. Pearl. Yeah.
Because Sandy even says, "Why don't you go to Pearl?" And she's like, "Oh, there's a bunch of snobby rich kids over there."
Yeah. So, so we got a happy ending, and then even Buddy gets to ride away with this lesbian biker.
The Let's not put a label on it. We don't know what's going on. I mean,
well, I don't know. He
seemed very entranced by her at the end.
Yeah, she looked kind of like Charlize Theron's character in Monster. What's her name?
Oh, Eileen Warmus, the serial killer. Oh my God! Now I can't unsee this.
You won't unsee that, But yeah, so he rides away on one direction, and Rick and Terry ride off in the other direction. They're gonna live happily ever after.
Yeah, he didn't stay with Sherilyn Fenn. He just shacked up with her for the.
No, he just got laid, and that was it. And that was.
This is all he was looking for, though.
Yeah. Well, and and it's funny. Like, he was 15. She was. I get the sense she was younger. She might have been 16. She
was in the class with Terry, so she was probably like 17.
Was she in the same class? Okay. Like, I wasn't sure if they were in the same class or young. She seemed younger. I mean, the character, like the actress, was definitely younger than, I think she was 20, Sherilyn Fenn, when they made this movie. So
yeah, so Joyce Heiser that played Terry, like I said, she was like
Joyce Heiser was 27. Yeah, 27, 28. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this is a great movie. I'm glad we picked it. I again, like I said, I mix up a lot of these, so it'll be fun going back and watching some of these and thinking, okay, like Can't Buy Me Love. I think maybe we might do that one next.
Yeah.
And that one I've seen more, mainly because I was a big Patrick Dempsey fan, and I
That
kind
and
of
Loverboy are like a great 80s.
yeah, Loverboy.
Right there.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, that's another one we could watch at some point. But he he became when he got on Grey's Anatomy, and he was like McDreamy, and then
Mhm.
you went from being the nerd in Can't Buy Me Love to being McDreamy, like 15 years later or whatever it was. And for me, like, it was like, okay, I was a nerd in high school, maybe I could be McDreamy, like I'm probably about the same age, so I don't think I quite got there, but I like to think that I did okay. I
He
hit
did
about,
a couple of good, like out of the box, because when you think Patrick Dempsey, you immediately
yeah,
drift to the 80s movies. He did a great movie in the 90s called Run, which was like an
yes, I saw
action
that.
thriller.
I
That's
saw
a
that in the
great movie.
theater. Yeah.
And then he is also the main detective in Scream 3.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
He was
that.
the detective that was trying to figure out who was going after Nev Campbell and everything in
I
that one.
think I only might have saw the first two Screams, so that's maybe why I didn't know that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Scream 3 is the one where people kind of gave up on it, but I like that one more than most. I mean, I love that whole series.
I gave up after 2, so I watched Scream, obviously, and I owned it. I probably still do own it. So yeah, so that was just one of the guys. Hopefully, we didn't miss any key details here.
Just a lot of quotes.
I wish I could remember that freaking quote, and it was definitely a buddy quote.
Are you sure it wasn't when Greg is yelling at his girlfriend and he goes, "That asshole called me an asshole"?
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't that. It was
That's
just like
another
a one.
favorite
It
one.
was just like a one-liner. I feel like it might have even been in the school. It was yeah, there's some great scenes, like when Johnny Lawrence is like picking up the thing. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention, there, because I like watching these movies and kind of seeing people that became stars, like Sherilyn Fenn, and really, like, that might be the only one, except for Ari Gross has a small role in this, which kind of surprised me. He plays like one of the kind of space nerds. He's got
So
like
those two guys, him and the other, and I can't remember the other actor's name off the top of my head. They were supposed to be Trekkies, like Star Trek sci-fi geeks, and they didn't have the rights to do like the Captain Kirk uniforms or anything. So the screenwriter or the director, they basically said, "Look, you're going to be like space nerds, like whatever," and they improv the whole thing where they were like aliens, like studying the human race and everything like that. So like the whole thing where they didn't turn in the homework, and they were like, "Oh, the teacher is very hostile today," and they're like, "Not enough coffee, no, not enough sex," or whatever they said there. Like that was all improv. So they actually gave him like a little bit to go on his own. They gave him a little bit of free reign in the film.
Yeah. No, I that was one of the highlights for me. And he was in a couple of scenes. There was the other guy with the with the
lizards.
lizard. Yeah, I don't think he was in. And then even her teacher was a guy that I've seen in a bunch of different, he's always got the same kind of role. He always plays like a dad or a teacher or
the gym teacher, the bowling.
No, not the gym teacher. The gym teacher looked kind of like kind of reminds me of the guy that played Drew Carey's brother on the Drew Carey show.
Yes,
kind of reminded me of that guy, but it wasn't him. No, the
journalism teacher.
The journalism teacher, yeah.
So he has always been a character actor. His name's Kenneth Tigar or Tigar. The first time I ever remember seeing him was on an episode of Barney Miller.
Wow.
And he was the guy.
He was a cop, right?
No. You're confusing him with Wojo probably. He was the guy that thought he was going to turn into a werewolf. So they had him locked in the cell. And then he did a couple other roles. But he's actually in the first Avengers movie. When Loki comes to Earth and is making people like kneel before him, he's the old man that stands up and he's like, something. He kind of like says something about like how Hitler tried to make them kneel. He's like, "I didn't kneel then, and I'm not kneeling to you now." Like something poignant like that. But yeah, he's still acting. He's still doing character roles. He's been in a million things.
I'm looking at his credits here, and I think where I recognize him from was Cheers. He was on a couple episodes of Cheers. He played like just probably like a patron of the bar, but he was there. He was 6 episodes on Growing Pains. Played a guy named Sid. Dynasty, 5 episodes of Dynasty. Yeah. So
one of my all-time favorites.
Just kind of kind of one of those guys that you just kind of see and you kind of recognize. But ER too. He was a doctor on ER. Actually, I remember that. It was like I think he was on like the hospital board. And because I watched ER like a few times. I watched like that series all the way through. So
and as far as people in the film too, there's another movie that I just thought of that we can watch. I don't know if you remember it, but her boyfriend, his real name is Lee McCluskey, and he's probably best known for being like a soap actor. He did Young and the Restless. He was on Dallas for a while. He married Lucy Ewing on Dallas.
He was on Santa Barbara forever. I watched
He did a movie this same year, 1985, called Fraternity Vacation.
Oh wow, yeah, I saw that.
He was one of the villainous frat boys, and one of the to use a wrestling term, one of the babyface frat boys was actually Tim Robbins.
Oh wow!
And this is the movie where there's the nerd Wendell and his parents, and his father is played by the same actor that played Willie on Alf. So the father from Alf is the father here, and he paid Tim Robbins and the other cool guy. He's like, take him on vacation and I'll take care of everything. I'll buy a hot tub for the frat house, like whatever. So they take him on vacation and, they get, they have run-ins with the frat guys that they hate and stuff. And the 2 guys that they hate, that they're kind of at war with, and they make a bet as to who can score with the girl first. It's the guy that plays Kevin, and it's Matt McCoy. Matt McCoy is the actor that he replaced Steve Guttenberg in Police Academy. He's the one that played Lassard's nephew. Yeah. And then he was in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. He was the husband that Rebecca De Mornay tries to seduce.
Okay.
So they're like the evil frat boys in that one. And that is another one of my favorite 80s comedies. That one's a little lesser known, but it's just like with Tim Robbins being in it. And it's another one where it's a cast of, hey, I know this guy. Hey, I know that guy. Plenty of
that one I definitely like to see again because I always see that one pop up. That one is often available on YouTube for free. Like sometimes they pull it down, but I've seen it as a suggested watch. I've seen just one of the guys on there too, so it must have got pulled at some point.
Yeah, I think they just rotate them.
Yeah, I tried to find it. Sometimes you can find them like in different languages with subtitles and stuff, and I wasn't going to do that for this. I mean, the Netflix version was perfectly fine. It was fully HD, 1080, and probably not as good as your DVD, but pretty close.
And I know we were talking on Facebook too, like on YouTube right now. So this obviously did inspire a lot of more modern movies. We were talking on Facebook, and there is a knockoff when they were trying to kind of rebuild Corey Haim's career. It was a Fox movie of the week. So it was on like a Sunday or a Monday night. And it was when he was dating Nicole Eggert from Charles in Charge and Baywatch. And it's him and her co-starring, and it's called Just One of the Girls. So same basic plot point, except Corey Haim is in drag, posing as a girl, and kind of dealing with all the same shenanigans.
So I remember watching that one, and I probably saw it not on Fox, but it would have been on like an HBO or show, Super Channel, or maybe even YouTube, and like watching the movie and like waiting, because I'm like, okay, there's got to be some nudity coming in this movie, and of course now you explained why there probably wasn't.
It's a whole PG-rated movie.
Yeah. Now there's another one, and then there was She's the Man. Right,
She's the Man. Yep, that was like 2003. That was that was a while after.
Channing Tatum, that one. Am I right about that, or is that something else?
That that's the one with what's her name, Amanda Bynes, right?
I think so. I'm drawing a blank on it. I know Dan LeCue mentioned it. I think it was him that mentioned it. There was another one.
That one I watched once or twice, so I have like barely no memory of it just because it didn't resonate. So
there's the one that kind of comes to mind, and it's one where it's a similar thing with a guy pretending to be a girl, and I don't remember what movie it was, but there's like a good scene where like he actually ends up in like a bathtub with another girl, and like his like erection is like rising up, and he's trying to push it down with a cloth. And I think like the gist is that the girl totally knows this is a dude, but is playing along like it's supposed to be a girl.
I know what you're talking about right now. Like I can, for some reason I'm seeing Sorority Boys, but I don't think it's Sorority Boys. but I think there is like a
No.
shower scene in that one.
There's a movie this movie is on, I want to say I saw it on Prime not that long ago. And it's definitely on YouTube. I don't know. If I think of it, I'll DM you and maybe we'll watch that one at some point too. That one's, I think, is that the same one that has like one of the opening scenes has like where they're like these high school kids are pretending to be doctors and they're giving the girls breast exams, and it's like, and they know these guys are just like teenagers, but some of them are dumb enough to like open their shirts like for the breast exam. Now you're drawing a blank too. I'm sorry. I should have.
Oh my God, this is ringing so many bells right now, and I feel like I'm failing. I'm failing a test right now.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. So you know what? We should wrap this up. We got 40 minutes.
Memory.
Yeah, we got 40 minutes. So one thing I want to do, and I'm going to see if this works. If this works, great. If it doesn't, we'll just close. And we will close with the regular theme, but I'm going to try to close with the trailer here. So let's see if this works. Hang on. All right, here we go. And that's that.
A classic.
Cup of Joe with Grandpa